Yeah, thanks, Julian, and thank you for everyone to listening. Terrain Minerals is a West Australian exploration company, and we're exploring for several minerals. So I'll just walk you through our projects, but we're quite excited. Some of them are quite advanced. So statutory statements. Just move my screen, get it set up. Why Terrain Minerals? With Tier 1 jurisdiction, all of our assets are in Australia, West Australia and Queensland. Exploration focuses on 2 granted assets, and they have 3 commodities. One was a bit of a mistake, but it's an exciting one. It's gold, gallium, and nickel. We have drilling results pending at all of them at the moment, which is very exciting for us. Look, our strategy gives our investors access to high potential, high value exploration projects and key commodities, and these are all driving any transition and focus on improving people's living standards across the world. Our Smokebush project has 2 parts of it. There's a wildflower gold and the Lawrence Lane gallium, which I'll talk to you about a little bit shortly. So gold, we have 19 holes for 2,500 meters, pending RC drilling, following some successful soils and air core drilling. Targets, none of you probably know them, but T16 and W3 and Cotter are all in the same trending shear zones, orientated as a Rothsay gold mine just 10 kilometers away. It looks very similar. And then we have another structure which is much more advanced, a lot more drilling that we've also drilled into, the Monza Lightning and Miria. And those results will be a bit later out in March. So all results are probably due March at this stage. And our gallium project. So we're a first mover on the gallium. There's a big need for gallium. China controls 98% of that market. We have a JORC compliant exploration target released in November, and we've started MET studies pretty well straight away. We're part of a government study, and we're down a few other avenues as well for the metallurgy. And we'll touch the base there later. We also have a large nickel copper targets down the southwest of West Australia. We've done a lot of work down there. We've done ground EM after some V10 with a helicopter. We've located 2 conductors located at the edge of a mafic eye feature, which is basically a volcano that hasn't made it to surface and hopefully dragged up some chunks of Earth's core with it, which are typically nickel and other minerals as well. So we had leading geophysicists say, have confirmed that the eye feature, Lort River, is a mafic intrusion. Our drilling appears to tell us that. We've hit the targets, so results are pending. And we've also got a pipeline of projects. It's important to have a pipeline of projects. There's a lot of heritage issues in Australia, and to get things granted now does take time. And if you've got good stuff granted, it takes a bit longer. So we've got a really good copper gold project and a really cracking lithium project, one in Queensland and one here in West Australia. And I'll talk to them about them at the end. So the company profile, Terrain has got 2 billion shares in issue. There's about 53 million options at various dates, mainly with management or all with management. The market cap is $8 million. There's a lot of upside here. Cash at hand has just popped 100 million again. We have no debt. Our share price is about 0.4, 0.5%, so half an Australian cent. Our top 20 has about 38%. And I guess some interesting, we got 1,216 shareholders roughly. The top 200 own 84% of the company, and the top 300 own 90% of the company. So the company is actually held in quite a small little group of people, which is good. And they're all long-term supporters. The board, myself, Justin Virgin, I have a stockbroking mining background. Jason McDonald is also mining background, but is a corporate lawyer and has had finance experience. And Johannes Lin is our Singaporean director and large shareholder. Their family, they've got businesses all over Asia, many employees. You can see on the map here, this is the breakdown of our projects. I don't know if you can see the cursor, but our Smokebush project is where gallium and our gold drilling has just happened. It's like a 4-hour drive from Perth, which is the capital city of West Australia. Our Lort River project, which is at the bottom of the map of West Australia, it's about 50 k's from the town of Esperance, and that's a major regional centre. Our 2 pending projects up near Port Hedland, the Kilindi, and our Billawheeler project out of Rockhampton in Queensland. They are getting close to being granted, but it's been about a 1.5 to 2 year exercise to get them. And you can see our commodity suite here. So I'll jump into our Smokebush project. That's the one with two parts. So we're 350 kilometres north of Perth. It's proven to host high-grade clay oxide gallium. So we're not in hard rock. We're basically in a sand or a regolith. So that's a bit of a game changer. So in theory, it should be quite cheap mining. The benefits, close proximity to the existing mining infrastructure. There's a lot of mines in the area. There's a lot of historic gold mining in the area, and we've obviously got some nice hits on our project, which we're developing at the moment. We've done a lot of RC drilling in December and in January, and those results aren't far away. And most results should be coming out in March. That's a typical scene there. You can see the flowers. That's wildflower season in West Australia, but that's typical what we see up on the site during the wildflower season. We'll jump straight into the gallium project. So gallium is a bit of a topical subject, and this is really exciting for us. We've got a JORC compliant exploration target as of November. It's only on 5% of this area. So if you can see that map on the right-hand side, there is 27 square kilometres of gallium. There's two granites that have basically run up on each side and pushed up, and there's a big drainage channel where all the water runs down there into the river, and that's basically assisted with eroding and probably pulling out of all the other elements. It's rare earth with gallium, but the seams along the contact is where the rare earth sits, and it seems to disappear. So at one end, it goes down to about 100, 110 metres of sand or regolith, and up the other side, it's about 10 to 20. And there's seams of gallium up to 64 metres wide. 70% of the holes had plus 10 metre zones of gallium. You can see a lot of the holes there. There's just not enough room to put all the grades on. But over the whole 10-metre area, we're seeing gallium in pretty all the holes, which is quite exciting. Grades up to 54 grams a tonne. Interestingly, gallium is ripped out of or pulled out of aluminium processing or bauxite. So once they've removed what they want, the slurry, they getting gallium from between about 40 to 100 grams, but they're only recovering 10 to 15%. So not a lot of it's coming out. Ours is basically already been oxidized. So the MET studies are ongoing now. We're a part of a government study in university, and we're quite excited about that. And we're also doing some other side studies. We want to get a processing route. We can drill a whole 27 kilometres out for under $1 million air core drilling, but we want to get a processing route. So there's a lot of interest out there to secure an alternate source from the major supplier of gallium, which is China. We are in ongoing discussions, and we're starting to push the gallium story for our company. This is a big opportunity for Terrain. We can be a gallium-only producer, where currently gallium is produced from aluminium or bauxite mining. So basically, there might be a seam that has high in gallium and the next one isn't. So the gallium sort of availability varies a little bit. So what is gallium? Gallium is a critical mineral. Basically, the Western world, Australia, European Union, US, United Kingdom. The main applications are defence, semiconductors, and computer chips, electronic circuitry, and photovoltaic cells. So basically, in your computer chips, your transistors, they're making a gallium alloy, nitrate, sorry. And what that does, it allows the chips to switch faster at lower voltages at higher temperatures. So less heat shrinks. Also, your LED lights in your house and all lasers wouldn't exist without gallium. Gallium's a key component for an LED. Photovoltaics, your solar panels, a patent dropped off about 3 or 4 years ago. Now 80% of panels out of China now have gallium in them. It's sort of the circuitry you see. The old ones basically had steel with oxygen would get in there and they'll corrode out. The gallium ones don't. You get much longer panel life, which is important, and better power. Interestingly enough, China controls 98% of the market, and that's what excites us. There's a great opportunity here for us to become an alternate supplier to China. It is used in the military, radars, missiles, fifth generation fighter jets. They need their components to move to switch quick and cycle. So China cut it off last August. It's now on a critical list for them, and they're restricting it, and they need export permits. And I can see as the global government situation, I guess it's going to be, political situation is getting interesting. That's only helping us, and we're getting interest, people coming to find us. It's a non-LME market, and it's all B2B, the sales. So there's not an exchange that deals with it. We know it's around $1 million a tonne. I think the price is very inelastic. If you think about how much is actually used compared to a tonne, these products can probably move, or gallium can move a fair way in price and not really affect the end products. So, if you want AI and quantum computing, you need gallium components. Without that, there is no AI, there's no quantum computing. It's that fast switching. As I said before, it's basically gallium chips and other electrical components. They draw less power, they switch faster. This allows for miniaturization, and they operate at much higher temperatures. So this is one of these little funny commodities up until recently into this trade war, started gurgling away. The last couple of years were probably unknown, but all of a sudden there is a major shortfall. I think from what I've researched, there's only about 6 months supply of gallium outside of China at any one time, which means all our chip manufacturers stop. So there's a little bit of urgency. So this is a real big opportunity for the company. We're getting our MET done now. We're looking at partnering. We've got 27 square kilometres. I think it might get a little bit bigger, of gallium in sand or in this regular clay that we can pretty well go in there and start digging quite easily. And it's in West Australia, so we've got a pretty safe jurisdiction. So this is the bit of the sleeper in the company. We're pushing pretty hard to make this happen. And with China controlling 98% of the commodity, it's not too hard to see with its importance that it could really do something for trade. Also at our Smokebush project, we have our Wildflower Gold project. So we're an explorer, we're Australian, we love gold. Our stage 1 drilling was completed in December. We did 8 holes for about 1,200 metres. As you can see on that map up the top, you can see where the one at the bottom actually, Laren Lane sits down there, that's the gallium. And up around the edge, there's a big intrusive unit there called the Mount Mulgine intrusion. And our gold sits around there. There are other gold mines around the edge of that intrusion as well. So we're in a good place. We started drilling at Cotter and T16. There's a couple of soil anomalies. We've got some nice big intersections with air core. For those who don't know what air core drilling is, I guess there's 3 types of main drilling we do in Australia. Air core is where the rod goes down without any pressure behind it. It just naturally goes down, just stops when it gets to resistance. RC drilling actually is pushing down the whole way to the drill on it, and hammer and blast it down into the ground so you can get through hard rock. Gives you a lot of penetration. And then there's diamond drilling you probably hear about, and that's sort of like putting a straw into ice cream and pulling it out. So air core is quite cheap and it's good passing. Air core drilling found 9 meters at 1.1 grams of gold from 30 meters down, and we got some nice big zones of low grade gold. So we thought there's some structures there. We can see a little bit in the ground, but it's predominantly on the cover. We've done some follow-up RC drilling. We're seeing structures in the ground. So are they mineralized, I guess is the next question. What we saw at Cotter and T16, in January, we went back. The drillers wanted to go home for Christmas, which is fair enough. And we did some couple of drill holes over RC, over W3, and also up at Wildflower. So there'll be a bit of a fragmented amount of results come here. And then in January, we've also, if you look on the bottom map, Monza and Lightning and Miria, we were up there and we did some structures. So the bottom stuff looks very much like the Rosso deposit, which is a narrow high-grade deposit here in West Australia. It's being mined. And there'll be a lot of mills in this area as well. And up the top where Monza and Lightning is, it's a very different style of mineralization, like the Warradas deposits you may have heard of. They're doing quite well. And I'll talk about them in a second. So drill results are due early March and towards the end of March on these 2 different programs. I suspect we're going to need all of them back really to make sense of it. So Monza and Lightning, you can see on the right-hand side, we've got a lot of RC holes into this. There seems to be something going on. We've now started to chase it down dip, so the gold sort of plunges down in units. So we've gone down dip. We've also, if you can see Lightning, there's a second structure there running up and down. We've gone to extend that to see if it is extended, and also look for potentially a 3rd or a 4th structure. So we'll just see what the drill results say, but there's potential for something here. Neighbouring deposits at Warradar, as they've drilled deeper, they've got wider and better grade. So that's what we're hoping for. So far, it looks pretty good, but we need the results back from the lab. And so basically did 11 holes there for 1,400 metres, and we're pretty happy from what we're seeing. So there's a bit of excitement there in the gold space. I think gold's a good place to be at the moment. We're in an area where we can get our gold treated without having to build, but then potentially we could build a small plant ourselves. Gold's typically come up, it hasn't come down. So if this keeps going down, it'll probably go down a long way, which is pretty typical for most deposits in West Australia. So that's our gold story. And you can see in our Smokebush project, we got the Lawrence Lane Met studies happening, and there'll be results dribbling out between now and middle of the year. And I think that's going to be a key for us to go back and do a lot more drilling and expand this project. We've obviously got our RC drilling we've done over our gold. Those results we start trickling out in March, which isn't far away. And then we're going to get straight back in there and do follow-up drilling. This is a pretty good area, we believe. Our Lort River project. So this is, it's nickel. Most people don't like nickel at the moment. I'm not sure why the prices aren't too bad. We're down in the Albany-Fraser Belt. There's only ever been 2 intrusive units found down there. We're in farming land. We're about 650 kilometres from Perth. And it's sealed roads. There's airports down there, ports. A lot of wheat and metal goes out of the Esperance port to world markets. Our Lort River project, as you can see there, the nickel, if you look up on the top, that's our eye feature or intrusive unit. Down the bottom is the Nova Bollinger. Southern Geoscience have confirmed that the eye feature at Lort River is most likely an intrusive unit. We know it looks very much the same characteristics as Nova Bollinger, same style of mineralisation. We know Nova Bollinger was taken over for $1.8 billion when nickel was well and truly under half the current price. We've only got a market cap of $10 million at Train. So there's a fair bit of upside here if this comes off. Nova is meant to be part of a province. And if you look at in Canada, the Thompson Belt, every 300 to 600 kilometres, there is a repetition, which is exciting. As you can see on page 14, where we sit from Nova Bollinger is about 300 kilometres. We've done ground EM in December after a VTEM survey, which is a helicopter flies a big giant magnet over the area. We've got a couple of nice conductors. We announced to the market that we've intersected the conductors with our drilling, about 1,000 metres for 3 holes on targets 1 and 2. And that's all we've told the market to date, and the market has to wait for results. This is one of those, could be a major thing for the company, or it could be nothing. We do some of these targets occasionally, but we are getting on with some real stuff as well. But this is exciting. This could be a major company maker of global significance if it comes off. And we'll find out next month. So that's another exciting reason to be in Terrain. Lort River, we've got our land accesses, everything organised. Obviously, we've drilled now, so just results pending. Just in summary, Smokebush project is our Wildflower Gold and our Lawrence Lane Gallium. We've got 19 holes for 2,500 metres pending for the gold drilling. On our gallium, JORC exploration target on only 5% of the area. Drilling outside of that all looks the same, but it's just not close enough to tell us or bring it into a JORC compliant resource. So we can do that reasonably quickly. We've got a couple of programs ready designed to go, and we're just waiting on the MET studies. So all the materials down with the studies now at the university, and we'll see how that all pans out, but it's quite exciting. We're looking at some very low acids, number 7 or 8, sort of like coffee or orange juice. If they work, then we don't have to use the standard process with sulfuric acid. Obviously, the byproducts are not as nasty, and it's a lot cheaper. So we're using some alternate ideas on how to process it. It'd be basically a detergent with a resin and pull it out of a liquor, which is nothing new. Our Lort River project, we've just gone over that. So 3 targets have been drilled. They look pretty good. Are they magmatic nickel, I guess, is the question. I'm busting to know, because this is the exciting part of it, getting drill results. And those results are due in March. So we've got gold and the potential nickel copper target results coming in March. And we've got a pipeline. Now, this is the interesting thing. So we need this pipeline. So we've got our Billa project, just check the time. It's copper gold. It's north of Brisbane, inland Rockhampton. We've got 2,500 square kilometres. It's been locked up in a company or two companies for 15 years. There's confirmed independent volcanogenic massive sulfides, VMS types, porphyry, copper gold, epithermal mineral systems present in the area. There's no reason why there can't be a monster hiding here. We're sort of north of Krakow. And if you look here, we've basically got the majors have been there. There's been a lot of work done over the years, but nothing with the drill rig. Most of these targets have never really been looked at. There's secondary copper hanging out of the ground, up to 9% rock chips, copper and 2 gram gold. So there's a lot to follow up on, and we're pretty keen to get in the ground. So we're almost there getting more granted. So this is 2025, the second half where train's going. So copper gold, I think, is a place to be. We're getting a lot of interest from some larger players. And as you can see, it's quite an exciting project. If we just jump back a slide, there's a reference to an ASX announcement. You can go back and have a look at that, 21st of June, 2023. And that's when we started the process of granting. This has taken a long time to get to where we are. And secondly, lithium. I don't think it's dead, but the prices are a bit woeful. But you want to be in belts that have high grade and potentially big deposits. Once you find a couple of deposits in a belt, typically that's what you find. So we're 90 kilometres out of Port Hedland. We're a long strike from Wildcat Resources, bulk cutter lithium project. We're neighbouring SQM and Kali Minerals. So and 50 goes from Pulgangura. We are in the right area. Just quickly on this map, if you look up the top, the right-hand side, the blue's ours. Most of this ground's been locked up since 2008 in a major company here in application. So we're almost there. We've had 9 objections. The exciting thing about this package is there's no juniors out there, to my knowledge. There's this size package up in the Pilbara. If you look at our tenement in the bottom picture, we can see Wildcat. That's a major regional structure back and forth there. If you stand at our boundary and you've modeled up the Wildcat Resources pegmatites, which they now do in their mining study, you can see them running straight through into ours. There's hits along that structure, which makes ours, that's 3 or 4 meters undercover, highly prospective. This is a really exciting project. It's had no work done on it, so we're pretty keen to get in the ground. This is 3 or 4 months away from being granted. We're very lucky to get it. So basically, Train's got a lot of things happening in the gold space. We've got an advanced gallium project, which are moving forward. And then we've got a couple of backup projects that we're very, very excited to get our hands on and start roll our sleeves up and get into. So that's the Train story. We're passionate about exploration. I think the gallium's a bit of a sleeper that people haven't woken up to yet. And there's a bit of gold results in the system. So I don't know if there's any questions, but yeah, thank you for listening.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation, Justin. Quite a lot of projects, in many places, a lot to follow here. Can you maybe talk to us a bit about your cash position, shares position, who's backing you guys, and what is the company midterm objective? Is it to continue exploring all of those projects? Is it to joint venture them? What exactly is the goal of the company here?
Well, the gold company's getting into production, and I think the way at the moment the gallium's sort of pushing forward there, and we're doing the MET studies, so that's quite advanced. So I mentioned the capital structure before. The top 300 own 90% of the company, and I know most of them. So we've got a pretty tight supportive register. Cash is back down under $1 million. It's typically always around there. The moment we get capital, we drill. We're active. We don't mess around. There's no matching furniture in our office. We're all squeezed into one little room. We're about exploration and making discovery and getting the company to production. Some of our projects, we are having conversations with some very large companies who are interested in doing site visits and looking around. Typically the 2 that haven't quite been granted yet, they really are prizes. So gold, that's potentially a standalone project too, which can bring some cash flow to the company. And funding, it's typically our shareholders and local brokers here have always been very supportive because we get out and get the work done.
Okay, so would you be considering, we have a question from Daniel here, would you be considering spin-off of some projects that might not fit less or more in the portfolio, or which cash flow generation, or any ways in Any thoughts in that direction?
We're here to make money. So we're happy to do all of the above. I guess the goal is let's try and make a discovery. If a project doesn't work, we've got something of quality to move on to. But in between, if someone came along and said, we'd like to joint venture, we're more than happy to speak to them. We're happy to do that. And if we make a discovery, then everything needs another home, because that's what we'll be concentrating on.
Okay, perfect. Maybe one comment here. Do you believe that you qualified yourself the gallium asset as being maybe a sleeper here? Can you elaborate a bit more on gallium, not just about what it does, but actually maybe price compared to gold or something else? I feel in the sphere there's a lack of understanding of those specific elements. So maybe telling a little more about why, for example, 53 grams per ton is in ppm is a lot in gallium or so on.
Well, we've done a bit of a scan. There's limited information, but we've done a little bit of a scan around the place. There are no gallium-only mines. It always comes out of a byproduct, but they're pulling it out at similar sort of grades and only getting 10-15% recoveries. So we're hoping, seeming ours is in sand, it's already oxidized, and it's in a different mineral system. It's not locked into aluminium and bauxite. So there's a good chance, well, we hope, that our met's going to get a lot more of that out. And our mining is a lot cheaper because we're just digging sand. You know, I guess I always looked at the tin price, and tin was $8,000. It was like 5-10 cents your mobile phone. When it was into $30,000 a ton of tin, it's 30 cents in your phone. Well, gallium's the same. If it's $1 million a ton, that goes a long way when you look at the circuitry and computer chips. And if you want AI and quantum computing, you've got to have gallium in your chips, the same as lasers and LEDs. So the price can go up a long way without really making an effect, because there's not a great deal amount of it. You know, the global markets is about 1,000 ton. They think it's going to grow to about 2,500 ton. But the world pretty well stops if China turns a tap off. You know, I guess that's the exciting part, because they're threatening to do that, and they have been threatening. And they're using more themselves internally now.
Okay, perfect. And lastly, in all of your project, can you just reinstate which one are the priorities and where do you spend most of your capital?
At the moment, it's been the gallium, and now we've moved on to our gold and our Esperance Salt River. That's where our concentration's been, because the other two are not granted yet. So we can't, until they're granted, we can't spend money on them. So basically, we'll see what the gold results are. We'll see what the drilling results, that sort of tells us where we go next. And I suspect gold, the way it is, we'll be back doing more gold drilling in the short term, because there'll be a lot of value there, and that'll be happening on the side as they're advancing the gallium forward.
Perfect. And Eric has a question also. How deep were the holes drilled on the Lot River nickel copper project, and were massive sulfurs encountered?
That's what everyone wants to know. The holes are about 320-30 meters deep on about a 60 degrees angle. So we're hitting, the conductors sit between 100 to 400 meters. So we're intercepting them down there. We haven't confirmed or denied if we've hit sulfides, and we're not going to. We've just told the market that we've intercepted the conductors and you have to wait for results. It's too hard if you start putting pictures out of what you've hit and saying ASX and all the regulatory bodies here jump down on you. So we've just said nothing. We don't want to spruik the market. We try and play the real game and do the work. You know, we're not trying to mine the market. You have to
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for that. That concludes your half-an-hour period. Any closing word while I invite the next panelist, please?
I think Mario's just helped us list on the Frankfurt Exchange, so I think that's happening tomorrow. So there'll be access for terrain there. But, you know, really appreciate. I'm open to questions or emails. If anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm always happy to talk. So thank you.
All right. Well, we are very, very pleased to have you for the first presentation, Justin, of your company here at the 14th IIF. Thank you for joining us, and we will be looking forward to the results and following your company with great interest.
Right. Thanks. So am I. Good one. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good
Bye-bye.
evening.